right, people, we're back. Welcome to Album Mode Soundbites, part of the Album Mode podcast where we're talking about the music, the culture, and the internet, and how those three things intertwine to create the music culture that we have today. My name is Lamar Grant, aka King Grant, aka the Bunny. I forgot my crown today. And here I am with
not King Grant today.
Yeah, Duke Grant.
It's crazy.
and I'm here with my esteemed co-host, co-creator, Adriel Smiley, aka AdrielSmiley.com, aka The Godfather, aka Mr. Smiley. Adriel, we are back. Mm-hmm. One of our friends stopped a diss track.
One of our friends. I like that. Someone you may have heard of.
Yeah.
For everyone watching this on YouTube, make sure you like this video. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. All the Drake stands out there. Drop some owls.
Yeah,
in the
owls
comments.
in the comments.
What do the Kendrick fans drop in the comments?
They don't really have a thing.
Yeah.
Kendrick is low-key bad on like branding. When it comes to stuff like that.
Not allowed to say that. You're not allowed to say that. He's amazing at everything. But yeah, Drake dropped a diss track. I was actually here in this seat when I saw it. Sent it to you. Mm-hmm. It actually got sent to me probably 2 hours before I listened to it. And shout out to Saf, Mandem from the UK, sent it to me.
Wow.
And I just saw that it was a tweet. So I said, okay, like I'm recording, I'm doing stuff. I'll look at it later. I opened it. I said, what the hell is this? And so the first thing is I was excited that leaks were back. I was like, I missed the time when a song was leaked and it was a big deal. Mm-hmm. Those were the good old days. We gave a little tutorial if you want to go back and listen to an old sound bites, or we taught y'all how to torrent music, how to download music, basically step by step. That was especially helpful on this past Saturday because this still is not on streaming as I'm speaking. But the thing that made this iffy, and I feel like it's kind of ruining a part of this battle for me, is that things being leaked causes a question if everything is AI.
True.
And I think that's something that past battles just did not have. And I feel like, that the Kendrick release that was buzzing over the weekend that people said was AI.
That was so clearly AI to me, though.
And I think that it kind of ruins it because some of these you think are clear AI, because I think this Drake diss, people thought it was AI.
I did. We both did. When it first dropped, we thought it was both AI.
And it's like, it's almost as like it's a safety net because like you don't want to believe it if it's not. And then now you're like, oh, he said all of these things. And so I think that's kind of ruining a bit of this battle, because I think we're ready for a great battle right now.
Yeah, I think that, look, here, we'll step back a little bit. Mm-hmm. Kendrick releases his verse, not even on his own track, which my barber disparaged. He was like, why didn't he just do it on his own music?
Your barber has a point.
So that happened. Then I think it was 2 weeks went by. Then we have Drake coming back with his own diss track called, it doesn't really have an official name. There's no official name.
Push-ups.
People are calling it push-ups. Because he says drop and give me 50. That's the hook.
I was going to say, I think it is called push-ups because people who have gotten the track sent to them from Drake are calling it push-ups.
Okay.
So I'm going to...
DJ Academics?
I'm not naming any names, but people are calling it push-ups. So we're calling it push-ups.
Yeah. So he released push-ups. There was... What was it, on Friday or Saturday? Saturday. So there was two versions. There was the first version that came out.
Yep.
That sounded a little warbled and a little muddy. Mm-hmm. The production was not as clear, and I thought it was AI. Mm-hmm. And I think most people thought it was AI.
Yep.
DJ Academics. We have to talk about DJ Academics because it actually got like premiered there.
Yep.
He was skeptical, but if you were listening to like how he was speaking about the track, the first version, he was saying like, this song is great, this song is that, this song is that. And then he would be like at the very end of it, allegedly. And I'm like, that's not alleged.
It sucks that's where we're at. It sucks that's where we're at.
So then I think a couple hours had gone by, maybe even more than a couple, 3-4 hours. Then somebody that we don't know, nobody knows, sent him a message with another file, and it was the finalized version.
Yep.
And it had the strings attached, I'm saying that improperly. The strings in the production were included.
There you go.
Right? And then the keys were much clearer. Drake's voice was much clearer, much more direct, much more forceful.
Some drops as well.
Yeah, some drops. And yeah, exactly. Like the strings drop out like halfway through it. So we're like, okay, this is the real song. And now Drake is in the ring. He stepped into the ring.
Definitely.
He stepped into the ring, you know, even though it's not fully released on streaming.
Mm-hmm.
But back to back I think is on streaming now, but it wasn't for the longest.
Yep.
And Duppy Freestyle isn't on streaming.
Yep.
Right? So the idea that we're ever going to get it on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, I don't think that's happening.
I don't know if it's never going to happen, but here are my two theories.
Yeah.
One, there was a rumor about a week ago about Drake's people clearing a sample. And so the Friday that we heard 7 Minute Drill, the rumor was that Drake was going to drop because people were saying he's trying to clear this sample, he's messaging people, and maybe that sample never got cleared, and that's what this leak is all about as well.
Yeah, because remember, I sent you, so we had this conversation earlier where he was sampling, where it sounds like he's sampling What's Beef by Biggie Smalls.
Yep, that's correct.
Like they sped it up. They hit the tempo. They turned up the tempo on that track, and if you go back and listen, it sounds very clear, actually, especially the strings.
Yeah, once you hear it, you're like, okay, that's very... So I think that's a part of it of maybe they couldn't get that cleared. But I think what's really cool about this beef, other than the actual like song itself, is to see people finding a way to hear this song and playing it over and over again. I think that's the cool thing of whether it's a file on their phone, like just a straight MP3, or it's a Twitter video that they're just...
Yeah, they have bookmarked.
You know, because when Duppy Freestyle came out, I happened to just be opening SoundCloud at random, and I said, does Drake usually use SoundCloud? Do you guys remember that? And it was like, it had been out for like 7 minutes.
Wow.
And I randomly caught it. And I think this is like that kind of feeling of, if you happen to open Twitter or Instagram at the time, and you said, this 4 minute Drake song.
Yeah.
This is...
Yeah, diss tracks are also not usually 4 minutes. Like, that's a long diss track, bro.
Yeah. I think I want to start with talking about the actual... diss are his shots at Kendrick.
Yeah.
I think the main one is of course the drop and give me 50. I like that the best because I think that Drake is in a unique spot where so much has already been said about him. He's been accused of so many things that I don't think that those are going to necessarily work in this battle. I feel like Kendrick's at a disadvantage because we don't know as much about Kendrick. So just knowing anything about him we didn't know is going to have more of a shock value than if Kendrick accuses Drake of something he's already been accused of, which is a lot of things. It's like, what's left to accuse Drake of?
Right.
And so the drop and give me 50 thing, someone mentioned this before of like, this is kind of like Drake covering his bases, which I thought was genius when I thought of it that way, is Drake has had this whole thing with Birdman for years, having a bad deal with Birdman. He actually sued Birdman in 2017. And that's something that I think that someone would have brought up of, oh, you're this big boss, you make all this money, but you're in a shitty deal like the rest of us. Now, I don't know whose deal's shittier. 50 is pretty shitty. Doesn't get worse than that, it feels like. But I think that now that Drake has said that about Kendrick, it would look weird if Kendrick said that about Drake. Right. And so I think that being the course as well is one of those Drake bars that he's had a few of where it's going to hurt the actual person he's talking about more than give us the shock value.
Yeah, there was the part where you're talking about the pull your contract because we got to see the split. The way you're doing splits, bitch, your pants might rip. And then he goes to, you better do that motherfucking show inside the biddy. Maroon 5 need a verse. You better make it witty. Then we need a verse for the Swifties. Top say drop, you better drop and give him 50. Pip squeak, pipe down. You ain't no big... And then he goes... He throws the gloves. Like, he's really throwing down the gloves where he's like... Names. You ain't no big three. SZA got you wiped down. Travis got you wiped down. Savage got you wiped down. Like your label boy, you in the scope right now. You gonna feel the aftermath of what I write down. I like that. Nice. He's playing on the labels.
Yep.
I think this is probably like the very few rappers are going like, I'm gonna play the label wordplay game. That's very, very rare. And then this is my favorite part. I'm at the top of the mountain, so you tight now. Just to have this talk with your ass, I had to hike down.
That's a bar.
And then big difference between Mike then and Mike now. What's the fuck? What the fuck is this 2v1 nigga? What's a prince to a son, nigga?
What's a prince to a king? He's a son, nigga.
Sorry, what's a prince to a king? He's a son, nigga. And then there's more, but I will just stop there. The hike down, I'm on the top of the mountain, so you're tightened down. Just to have this conversation, I have to hike down that's a great bar.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how else to describe it other than great. That is like probably one of his best lyrics.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's like acknowledging how high he is in the game. Everybody acknowledges. That's the thing. Everybody says that Drake's at the top.
Mm-hmm.
But for him to be like, okay, let me take a break from the mountaintop and come down to you plebs. Let me just join the plebs real quick. I thought was awesome. I think that this is probably one of Drake's best ever diss tracks.
I think I agree with you. One thing about this diss track that made it clear to me, and let's just take a step back, take another step back. I think this kind of puts the ball in Kendrick's court in a way where I think he can't lose. Like, if he loses, it's going to look way worse than it did before. Because I think that, to me, when we had our Kendrick versus Drake argument, Kendrick is good enough on his own. A 1v1 Drake versus Kendrick doesn't need any help.
Yeah, he should be able to win that.
And I think that's what makes this a little bit iffy, because it's not like these people are helping Kendrick kind of outside his scope. I think this is like clear that like he's having contributions to The Weeknd, clearly. The Weeknd's jumping in, Rick Ross is jumping in. So I think that now that Kendrick has his team of Avengers and Drake took one track to address everyone, it's almost like it's going to look way worse if Kendrick loses, because I think we're in a spot now where I think that Drake is seen as not the underdog, but being ganged up on. That's a lot of the perception of, okay, everyone's ganging up on him. You know, he has that line, what the fuck is this, a 20v1 nigga? And I think that this diss, to me, I'm calling it charged up on steroids.
Okay.
You know, charged up with some muscles. Supercharged. Yeah, there you go. Now you should call it that, supercharged. But he addresses everyone, but makes Kendrick the main event in this. And I think that that's something where we haven't seen this energy in a battle, at least not in my lifetime that I can remember, because not only, Kendrick was the one who said, all right, we hooping. Who's coming outside? We hooping. He called Drake out. And then Drake dropped this song, and since then he's been saying, Kendrick, when are you dropping? I want the record. I want the record.
Every day he has DJ Academics on the timeline.
and we've never seen Drake have that energy in a battle, but it reminds me of when Drake went against Meek Mill. Let's go back about 10 years now, maybe 11 years, to when he dropped Charged Up and then Back to Back. And I was explaining this to someone who just was unaware of all of this, and I said it was almost like Drake got impatient. And he said, I sent out a shot, you're not gonna shoot back? Okay, all right. And that's the energy I'm seeing from Drake with this. And I think the reason why I think Drake has another record ready. I think the reason we haven't seen it is because this record that Kendrick has been almost an industry boogeyman rumor.
Yeah, it's been mythologized
for how long he's had it for. And someone said this to me, and I kind of agree with them. I think Kendrick is probably rewriting some of whatever he has, because I think that no one expected Drake to want this battle as much as he does.
I agree. I think that most people, I would say most people thought that, okay, he's going to maybe say something, maybe on another track, subliminals, maybe a diss track, but I didn't think he was gonna he actually
wants it.
Yeah, he came after him. Like, he genuinely,
he's walking him down. Like.
Yeah, he genuinely, like, down to the man's shoe size. Down to the fact that he wears size 7s.
Sorry, and this part in here we talked about wearing all his chains in LA.
Yeah,
I be with some bodyguards like Whitney. Top say drop. Your little midget ass better fucking.
So, yeah, that's like, that was a legitimate diss track, which I did not think, I just didn't think he was going to be going like that hard for it.
And I think, this one last thing I'll say, like this, I think reframed how I'm looking at this beef, this track alone, because I think I forgot all of Drake's beef and what he's been through as an artist.
He's battle tested, bro.
He's battle tested in so many different ways. And I think as well, so what someone mentioned is the spotlight of a battle is different.
I agree.
Than just having a hot song or a hot project. And I think that the spotlight of this battle, I'm not saying Kendrick can't deal with the spotlight, but one of his major traits is disappearing. Drake has probably been one of the best artists ever of indulging in the spotlight, basking in it, being comfortable in it. And so this pressure of a battle, Drake is like, this is every day to me.
Yeah.
I do this. For Kendrick, I think this is something where it's like, what can he compare this moment to in his career?
Yeah, there's one thing that I think is a little bit understated about Drake. He actually releases music very quickly. Not even just his projects, like
But making them.
Remember, For All the Dogs, the deluxe.
Yeah.
That came like a week or 2 weeks after, and he
Yeah.
was like, "Yeah, I wrote this in like 3 days."
Yep. Yep.
Then there was What a Time to Be Alive. They did that in like a weekend.
Yep.
So, and then you have, he had back to back and Charge Up that happened in like 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Drake actually is like, if it's like, okay, let's do it now, he can do it today.
And I'm happy you mentioned that, because I think that's one thing about Drake's talent as a writer that doesn't get discussed. There's this story going around about how he wrote Churchill Down's verse in 10 minutes. And I think about that with this beef is like, Drake doesn't need the time. Like, to me, if Kendrick drops on Friday, Drake will drop on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one thing that, again, we just didn't see coming. How I've been comparing it to people is like, this is like almost like playoff experience.
Facts.
The NBA playoffs are about to start. Oklahoma City Thunder are the number 1 seed, and teams are kind of jockeying to get them because even though they're talented, they haven't been there before. Drake has been there before, time and time again. And why I mentioned that is, how are we deciding who wins this beef? That's one thing I've thought about a lot. I've made some TikToks about it, talked about it with other people. Is like, how are we deciding who wins this beef? Because on Back to Back when Drake won, it was just a better song.
And it was a
hit song. Like, that was playing in the clubs.
Yeah.
And that wasn't about exposing Meek Mill. Meek Mill did the exposing and lost the battle. Against Pusha T, it was all the way around. Drake kind of came out the window with Duppy Freestyle after Infrared had a couple of bars for him.
Yeah. Duppy Freestyle is a better song.
Better song, but the exposing won of Pusha T.
Yeah.
I don't think exposing is going to win this battle. Now, Kendrick may have something on Drake that will just totally tarnish him, but I think his fame helps him in this, because we've already made fun of him for talking to underage girls. We've already called out some misogyny as his lyrics. He's already been called a ghostwriter.
Yeah.
He's already been called a white boy. People make fun of his baby moms.
Exposed his son.
Drake has had every bit of expose towards him, and that hasn't affected his album sales. He's still loved. And when this song came out, it was basically the same deal. So I think all these things that you would normally expose someone with, Drake is kind of overexposed. So you can't do that.
That's a great thing to say. Go ahead. Sorry.
And for Kendrick, he's underexposed. I
agree.
And I think that for Kendrick, I'm realizing now, even in this battle, it's like him losing 50% of his royalties or his pay with Top is bad. But that's not usually enough to end someone in a battle. Like, we're not gonna say we don't send Kendrick anymore because of that. But I think because people look at Kendrick as the boogeyman and he's just a great artist, almost anything Drake says that we don't know about will throw us for a loop.
Yeah. One thing that I'm really thinking about is people don't really respond to Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
Like, he says, like, Control happened. I mean, there was replies, but it wasn't really.
It wasn't the big dogs.
Yeah. And then this happened. I'm like, did he expect Drake to reply?
He did. He knew Drake would reply.
I don't know, because I'm just like, that just seemed, I just like really thought about that. I'm like, people don't really, like, the big people don't really reply in a way that is like substantive to Kendrick Lamar. And now that this has happened, I'm like, what does that full Kendrick Lamar diss track sound like?
I think we don't know, and that's what's kind of the fun part about it, but also interesting is like we have no idea. And as well, I think that Kendrick went the Drake route with like that. That's a club banger. Dissing on a club banger. Everyone's singing it in the club.
Yeah, they flipped roles.
But I think Push Ups is like staying on that path. Okay, we'll go club banger for club banger, and we'll stay in that pocket. We'll stay in that BPM. But I think that what I saw here is Kendrick was more direct than J. Cole. J. Cole kind of started it on First Person Shooter, which we didn't even realize at the time, even though we reviewed that project. Then Kendrick gets a little more direct than J. Cole, and Drake says direct.
He's just like, here's the, at sign Kendrick Lamar, fuck you.
and at everybody else too. So last but not least, before we get into our new big three, I think that this is kind of in a place where I'm almost worried for Kendrick. I want Kendrick to perform. I'm excited for what he does. But I do think that because he started this and came out as the boogeyman and J. Cole helped, bring that light to him.
Yeah.
I think that if Kendrick loses this and how he loses this is going to really change how we look at him, because I don't think he's Meek Mill. I don't think that. But I want us to go back in time to when Meek came at Drake and everyone was saying Meek was going to wash him.
Yep.
That was the consensus. Meek's a battle rapper. He comes from this. He's street. Drake is not. And when you heard Meek's diss record, forgettable.
Yeah.
Forgettable.
Exactly.
And I think Kendrick, as talented as he is as a rapper, who's the best rapper is not going to win this.
Yeah, that's true. Because in a rap battle, disses are effectively a rap battle.
Yeah.
Your punchline is actually what determines who wins. Like,
Yeah.
you can be the best technical rapper and everything can sound like, super buttery, but if it doesn't get people like, oh,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
then you're gonna lose. And I feel like in this, push-ups, we got a lot of oh, damn. Like that line with Metro Boomin, go and make some drums, like that shit.
And the drumline video, oh my! And you know what's funny? I'm like, this might be the whole soundbites at this point because there's so much to talk about. But I think what makes this diss so amazing to me is that there's a section here where he goes, "Shit we do for bitches, he doing for niggas. Jets, whips, chains, wicked, wicked, wicked. Spend it like you trying to fuck, boy. You tripping, boy. You tripping. Drizzy, Chippendale probably got your bitch Chanel." That's a line that just flows, sounds good. I saw someone explain Drizzy, Chippendale got your bitch Chanel, what that means. And that's a character who used to always get one over on Pluto in that show, which is one of Future's nicknames. And I thought about that and I said, this is what Drake is doing, which I haven't seen him do before in a battle.
Yeah.
And maybe this is because he's going against Kendrick. He knows he has to up his ante, but this section, which is the wicked, wicked, wicked we get, buying shit for bitches, that's all like we can understand that right away. This, Chippendale line in here, it sounds cool, it fits, without us even understanding it. And once we do understand it, it's like, oh, that's for Future.
Yeah.
It's clearly for Future. And so I think that having that mix of a line that seems innocent, but is extremely direct, seems like something Kendrick would do. And so I'm excited to see on a diss record Kendrick go into that bag as well, because I don't remember Drake doing this on past diss records.
Yeah. I wonder if Kendrick will. I feel as though they have swapped like roles.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'm like, does Kendrick try to go for a hit song with a diss in it?
I think you
song.
will.
Yeah.
Here's my thing. And someone mentioned this. I think someone said Kendrick's gonna go the black route and get at Drake's blackness or lack thereof.
Oh. But I feel like people have been doing that. Like Rick Ross did that, Pusha T did that. Like I feel like people are already doing
And that's kind of my thing is, and Kendrick is a much greater artist than I will ever be at anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what route he takes after me hearing this record and Ross's reply, because I realize I'm like, what is there, unless you're going to really expose him. Like Drake is doing something crazy on the low and you have proof, that's different. But if it's just, I'm blacker than he is and my albums have more respect, I don't think that's gonna fly. Yeah. And so I'm interested to see what Kendrick's angle is, because I think some things he could say could be true. Yeah. But it's not gonna hit the same way. Yeah, the
impact is not there.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if Drake wins a beef between him and Kendrick Lamar? That is going to be insane. That would actually be a big legacy thing for him.
Kendrick Lamar, it's gonna count as everybody. That's my point. It's gonna count as he won against everybody.
Yeah, it's gonna be if he wins.
Yeah,
which I would consider him winning.
He's up right now.
Yeah, I would consider him winning right. If he wins, we're talking about this guy and we're talking top 5. Top 3.
and we're maybe speaking too soon. Maybe everyone will come back to this, and I'll be extremely right. This is going to be the end of the big 3 if Drake wins. If Drake wins, you're never hearing the big 3 again. It's Big Me and
it's over
and nothing else. And I think Kendrick as well. I said it before. We have a little sprinkle we do with Kendrick, which he doesn't need. He's already amazing. But we sprinkle in, he takes so much time because his records are amazing and he won the Pulitzer and all these things. I think he's going to become quickly one of those rappers that it's going to be, okay, we can hate him now. We felt like we couldn't. But nope. And I'll say this. Kendrick is phenomenal. But I think once he chose the critically acclaimed route and said, this is where I'm going to go, I'm going to be the darling, it was impossible to hate him. It was just not allowed. Yeah. If you like hip hop, you like good music, you must like what Kendrick does. Yeah. And I think that for the most part, that everyone has just been in line of, yep. And I think this will change all of that in a second if he loses. So
I love it. I love it. I love legacy. I like just like the concept of legacy in history, in sports, and in music. And this, at the beginning, it was kind of just like, you hear what he said, blah, blah, blah. Then the J. Cole bowing out. I'm like, okay, that's actually a legacy thing. And then this Drake diss track, he actually did this. We're talking legacy of the three biggest artists of hip hop at this time period. Like, this is a real thing now. This is like an actual historical moment that we're talking about in the genre. I feel like people are not grasping that. But
I hope they are. This is historical history happening right before our eyes.
Because it's just like, Jay-Z and Nas, they had diss records, and then people say it's like, yo, you ethered somebody.
No, and I would say this is bigger than any beef we've had, because we've never had artists at this peak of their powers. Yeah. I think that what they have done, what they've established at this point in their careers to beef is such a rare thing to see.
I know, because we were at I think we might end up just doing the whole stuff, but we were at a point where we were saying, oh, it's too late for them to beef. We're like, oh, maybe if it was like 2013, 2014, when they were both like, I think, To Pimp a Butterfly and Nothing Was the Same, like, I just came out in that time period, be like, that's like beef time.
Yep.
Right? Because they're both really fighting for number one. And then now we're like, oh, big three, they kind of just all exist at the same time. Everybody's too buddy. And then there's this explosion that happens where it's like, no, we're trying to decide who's number one, number two, number three now. Like, there's actually a definitive moment we're trying to figure out that order.
Who's the top dog.
Yeah.
I think as well, I realized that maybe Drake knew this was coming at some point. But I understand that, because who hasn't shot at Drake over the past decade or so? A bunch of people he was fans of or friends with have shot at him. So I think he had this coming, because at the end of Rick Ross's reply, he says that he unfollowed him because Drake sent a cease and desist for that French Montana record. I was going to be on Mac and Cheese 5. Which is funny, because I'm like, I don't think that's the reason you unfollowed him, but beside the point. That song that the cease and desist was for got released, and in that song that never came out, he talks about the big three and says the big three is him, Madonna, and the Beatles. And I think that was part of the reason why that song didn't come out, is he's like, I don't want it to come off as...
he doesn't want to inflame things.
And so I think that Drake having that kind of wherewithal, because there's a I forget who it was with, but there's another song that was the same kind of idea where he said, I don't want to come out, people think it's about Kendrick. And I think that in a way, it's not that people say Drake may be ducking the smoke in that way, but I just think that it's like, I don't need to take it there if it doesn't need to go there.
Yeah.
I'm already the top dog. If you want to come at me, but I'm not shooting down to come at you. Yeah, okay. And I think this is where we see like Kendrick.
I'm
absolutely ready.
I'm hyped for this. Okay, how do we still have time to talk about our last big three ideas? Be very short. Like, maybe it's like,
I think we should table it, honestly. Okay. I think we should give that its proper respect.
Yeah.
I think we can do a few more on Drake, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah.
I have one part in verse 2 that I really want to highlight, because this part is the part that I think the most people are confused about.
Okay.
And it hasn't been, I guess, settled on what he's saying. He said, and that fucking song y'all got did not start the beef with us. This shit been brewing in a pot. Now I'm heating up. I don't care what Cole think. That dot shit was weak as fuck.
Oh, yeah. I like that. Go ahead, sir.
Champagne tripping. He is not fucking easing up. Niggas calling Top to see if Top want to piece it up. Top want to piece it up. Top want to piece it up. Now, pussy, now you on your own when you speaking up. Go ahead.
So I love that he called out J. Cole. So that's how you know he made it very recently.
Yeah.
Because he was just like, that J. Cole shit, fuck that. And DJ Academics allegedly had a conversation with Drake and said, please don't do like some lame shit like what J. Cole did. And Drake allegedly responded, I cannot believe you would even associate me with something of that stature. Like, of doing anything like that. Right?
Drake's right to be offended, because look at the energy.
I was offended too. Okay, like, Drake is a student of hip hop. I am a person. I would like to consider myself a student of hip hop. That was bullshit. Like, you just like, I just thought it was such a bad. Now he looks, again, when I was talking about the idea of the big three.
Yeah.
Now it looks like crazy, right? Because we're talking about, again, legacy defining moment in hip hop history, and you decided I'm going to bow out. Because this could have been the moment. this could have been a moment for real.
I'll tell you what's real that I feel somewhat responsible, even though J. Cole has no idea who I am.
Mm-hmm.
We, the people, the podcasters, the journalists, media members, we begged. J. Cole, please rap at Kendrick Lamar. We want to see this. J. Cole versus Kendrick, the two spitters. And after hearing Drake do this, what would have happened if J. Cole didn't apologize? How would that have gone? How would that have gone?
I guess he would be more included. He'd be more included in the diss.
For sure, but this is Kendrick getting at Drake.
Yep.
And J. Cole just caught a stray for standing beside him.
Right.
And I think
he could have just not done anything. But that's the thing that always gets me.
That's where I agree with you. Yeah. I think he probably shouldn't have done anything. And I think looking at how it is now, not doing anything was probably the right response. Yeah. And I think that us as the viewers didn't know that. I think that's what I think is a big difference is we clearly didn't know that. I think if we had the foresight, we would have said, yeah, what the fuck is J. Cole doing making you get what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think in the moment we were caught up and also thought, of course, J. Cole, respond. Look how great you're at. Respond. And so I think now this is something where he is the one who's hurt the most from all of us not knowing, if that makes any sense. But I think that's something I see of like, he definitely shouldn't have responded. Now we see what it is. And then two parts. Him saying Top want to piece it up. Drake kind of getting at Kendrick and saying that like now he's not on TDE. He doesn't have that defense or that cover from Top Dog. I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm interested to see what's Kendrick's response to that.
Right.
Because he is on his own, quote unquote, for the first time. And how is that going to manifest in his lyrics? And then as well, I think that this is, to me, back to what I said about 7 Minute Drill, this is another flex. Because I don't think this is the record that Drake has ready to go that's really going to do the thing. This is like letting Kendrick know, I am ready. Drop your record. That's what this feels like to me.
Oh, you think it's going to go beyond this? Do you think, so hold on. Do you think Kendrick Lamar is going to release another track and then do you think there's going to be another Drake track? I think Kendrick might release another diss track, and then it's over.
No. I think we're getting minimum 2 more songs.
Wow.
Minimum 2 more songs. At least one from Kendrick, at least one from Drake. From listening to the Rory and Mal podcast, it sounds like Drake has another record ready to go. That is the real bomb nuke record. And from what we've heard as well, Kendrick has a record he's been sitting on for quite some time. That is his record. And so I don't know if Kendrick's first drop will be that record. That's why I say minimum of 2.
Okay.
Kendrick may have his own push-ups that he wrote recently and addressing everything, Cole, Future, all that kind of stuff. And then Drake might drop his nuke, and Kendrick might drop his nuke after that.
Okay.
But I think we're getting a minimum of 2 records. That's why I'm at minimum 2 records.
I think we're getting one more and it's from Kendrick Lamar. This is what. Okay, I'm gonna explain to you why. Right?
I don't get it.
Wow. Okay. Here's the thing.
Thank you, Chris.
You have to think about like the sequence of events. So we had first person shooter, right? Then we had like that. Then now we have Drake again. It's really again. We're at an again part.
That's not true.
It isn't again.
Drake didn't get at Kendrick on first person shooter. That was J. Cole that did that.
But
Drake stood beside him, of course, and was a part of it. But this is Drake putting. That's what I'm saying. This is why I think we're getting at least 2 more. Is Kendrick, his verse was directed, but it was him standing with Future, with Metro, calling Drake out. This is the first track solely for somebody.
Right.
So once Kendrick returns that energy, Drake is going to respond.
I don't think so.
You think Drake's not going to respond?
I don't think so.
What made you say
this
that?
is the response.
No.
He addressed.
You think this is it?
Yeah, man. Like
you got hip hop fucked up.
I don't think so.
You got hip hop fucked up.
I don't think so.
Nah, you got hip hop fucked up.
You have to really think about it. It's gonna get really drawn out though. If you're in your scenario, it gets really drawn. It's like diss track, then diss track, and then we're gonna do one more by Drake. Does that mean there's gonna be another? That's when you're talking about 3 songs. We're doing 3 diss songs. Like that sounds ridiculous.
That is to me the base of a diss song. Let's go back a few months.
Okay.
When Meg dissed Nicki.
Yep.
Because Meg, if we're being real, Meg dissed Drake first.
Yeah. Well,
But let's go back to when Meg dissed Nicki.
Yeah.
When Nicki dropped her response, we said Is Meg going to respond? Is it worth a response? We thought Meg was going to respond.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't. No one's mentioned it since.
Yep.
This is the first response in the Meg point of view. Like this would be the Meg response of what Drake is doing. So Kendrick has one more response. Drake remembers what happened last time when he didn't respond. We were all there. He's still hearing about it. So I don't think that there's really a world where he doesn't respond.
We'll see. Well, it depends on how good the Drake Kendrick diss is. Because if it's not that good, if it's like mediocre, then he doesn't need to respond.
Well, I think that's why I think we're getting into them too, because go back to Meek Mill and back to back. Mm-hmm. I think no matter what Kendrick's response is, we're getting a response.
Okay.
To me, the actual question is if Drake is going to respond more than once after this. I think Drake has his next track loaded, ready to go, and depending on what Kendrick says, we may get some tweaks.
Okay.
So,
well, we'll see.
Listen, in the comments, let us know. Who do you agree with? Is Drake going to respond to Kendrick? I think that's an obvious one.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a response song.
I think Drake's going to respond to Kendrick's response.
No, I don't. I think it all depends on how good Kendrick's diss is, which I do think is happening because it only makes sense for that to happen. But if it's like meh, then it's like, bro, I don't need to say anything.
You know what? You know why I disagree with you with my whole chest? Mm-hmm. Is because you can't call me out and then give me some shitty response. I think I'm not gonna black out on you.
Oh, you're gonna
because this was not this to me wasn't blacking out. It was very good.
Yeah.
But he didn't really, and this is for the crown. So I think if this is for the crown, it's for the crown. I'm not taking no chances.
Right.
I'm making sure y'all know who's who, what's what. So I'm excited to see it because I think in the next month or so, we're gonna have a new go to hip hop. I do think this is you can become the GOAT in this beef. I think the winner will be the GOAT to hip hop. So in the next few weeks, we're gonna have some answers. Are gonna be decided.
Yeah.
I want to know in the comments what y'all think. Will Kendrick Lamar respond? I think that's a given. But will Drake respond to the response?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know. I want to thank everyone for watching us. This has been a great episode of Soundbites. I'm very excited for what hip hop has to offer.
Yeah, me too. And I like that it's it's all happening within the borders of the game.
And
nobody is getting shot at.
Thank you.
Nobody's getting glass broken over their head at the club or anything like that.
Not yet.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was like a fight or something like that. It just seems like it might happen. But everything is happening within the squared circle. It's like the wrestling match. Everything's happening inside. It's all good.
It's all in the ring. No one's in the stands.
Yeah,
And I'm happy Kanye's not involved.
Me too.
I'm so happy Kanye's not involved.
Me too. Because I feel like Kanye would very much love to insert himself in this situation. I feel like he would love to do. He's like, hey, Kendrick, you need somebody to produce the song for you?
Oh, my God.
Do you need somebody to produce the song?
He honestly should have called Kanye because I'm worried about what Kendrick's going to do for his production.
That's true. Yeah, he should call Kanye.
Unless it's going to be Metro again, I'm worried. That
would be a smart thing. If I were Kendrick Lamar, I actually would call Kanye, and Kanye would be dying to produce that song.
And I'm sure Kanye has some beats that are for Drake that Drake knows are for Drake. And Drake's going to hear this beat and be like, rats.
Yeah, that's a very obvious team up, actually, now that I'm really thinking about it.
Oh, my. This is, so before we sign out, my prediction is by the next Soundbites, we have at least one new song to talk about. That's my prediction.
Okay.
By the next Soundbites, we're talking about either a Kendrick Lamar response or a Kendrick Lamar and a Drake response. Okay. One or the other.
Right. You're kind of bringing me around if it's mediocre from Drake or from Kendrick, then Drake might hammer him because
either way,
I think if somebody definitively wins this beef, they're going to be like, you're talking about them in top 5 because you're defeating somebody else who is like, these guys are like top 10, top 5 in the history of the genre.
And someone who called you on hip. That's the thing I think that you mentioned earlier, which is the main point here. It's like, this is one of the first beefs ever that's about hip hop. It's just simply, I'm better than you.
Yeah.
Come, let's find out.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited.
Let's go.
Very excited.
Right. Thank you everybody for tuning into Soundbites. Make sure you follow Soundbites on all social media make sure you follow Album Mode on all social media. At Album Mode Pod on Twitter, at Album Mode Pod on Instagram, at Album Mode Pod on TikTok. Make sure you like this video, like the live, make sure you comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And Adriel, make sure you know yourself and know your worth.
Later days.
I don't know. it's gonna happen in a week though.